All right, everybody. Good morning. It's Monday. We're up early. This dude shot out of a cannon already.
What's up?
Got my ass up out of bed early just to talk to him, and it's always a pleasure, though. And I'm happy to talk to him. My good friend, the one and only Appalachian Apostle himself. Not a jabroni. Trust me, this dude is not a freaking jabroni. The man, the myth, and the legend behind the whole world of Scattered Hamlet, Mr. Adam Joad.
Thank you. That was a great introduction, man. I got to bring you on stage to introduce us. That would be. I want you to just come out and say that every time.
And you know what? I was seeing your guys' performance from what was the festival you guys played? I guess over the summer.
Rockfest was the one we did this summer. Yeah.
Well, come on, you can't get a much better introduction as we are your new favorite band. Come on. I love it.
You know this better than anyone. You go back to pro wrestling, man. It's always there. You go. You
got. I got my new co-host with me.
Hey, bud. Yeah, we go back to the heels in pro wrestling. You know, it's so funny that. When we were touring this summer, we were out with Anti-Mortem. It was hilarious because Rado and I, he's the front man for the other one. We're like the exact polar opposites of how we interact with the crowd. Like he'd walk out there and be like, "Hey, how many of you guys, this is your first, Anti-Mortem show," and people would put their hands up. He's like, "Welcome," and he makes them feel really good about themselves. Like me, I walk out there and I'm just like, "How many of y'all, this is your favorite SH show? Your first one." They'll put their hands up and I'll be like, "Well, that's your bad." It's just, yeah. It's hilarious. It's just like the two opposite ways of handling, the stuff. And it's funny. And then people will talk to me later and they realize that I'm not really that much of a dickhead,
Well, it's funny. I mean, including intertwining the world of wrestling into the whole rock and roll thing and self-promotion, as we were just talking, being that you guys are on your own label. The one person who, I know you're a fan of, and obviously I am as well. And yeah, I posted the picture out, and you're wearing his garb in the new video, is Evel Knievel, because that dude, he knew he was the king of self-promotion. And you hear the stories of how he did things and how he made stuff happen. And it's just you can't top Evel.
Dude, he crafted his own legend. It goes back. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I was watching a lot of I like to watch showmanship, and I was watching a lot of magicians, and I learned a little bit more about Harry Houdini. Apparently, was quite a self promoter like that as well. Back in his, and I didn't, and I don't feel qualified to talk about, but I remember I was listening. I believe it was Penn and Teller. Somebody was talking about how that guy would do things like that. I'm like, okay, because that kind of stuff resonates. Like you said, Evel Knievel, it doesn't matter if it's magic, it's stunts, pro wrestling, music. It's all entertainment. We're all, entertaining is what it is. And it's, I mean, even take fighters, I'm been involved in mixed martial arts for years. And, the fighters that can sell a fight will get probably 3 to 4 fights past when they shouldn't have been fighting anymore. So that's 4 more paydays, which could be huge. Look at Conor McGregor. He's not been a top contender in a while, and he still sells fights. And boom, it's and he still could be a top. There's all right. He has the threat of possibly being back there again. Plus, he'll sell a fight. It's that's money in the bank. I always used to tell the fighters at the gym that I'm like, you got to talk more shit and sell more fights. It's going to get you a couple more paydays,
man. And that's the funny thing, because those are the big paydays, the biggest ones of their career, and that's what gets them through life. Yeah. I mean, look, Mike Tyson's fighting again. I mean, that guy's 20 something years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a crazy world like that, so that and Tyson is great. I mean, he's a funny dude. Who'd have thought of that? When you watch him tell his stories and stuff, it's to hear him tell a story about having $1 million and deciding, I want to buy a tiger in my Maserati. Right. He's I'm 23. He's like, I want a tiger.
Did you ever see the Mike Tyson one-man show where he talks about his life?
I've only seen clips of it, but
Oh my God, it's amazing.
yeah, from what I saw, I'm like, and I saw like him in different podcasts and things promoting it. And I'm like, this is like brilliant, you know?
It is. It really is.
Yeah, and he didn't even intend it to be funny. That was my favorite part of it. That he was like, I didn't realize this is funny. It's like, yeah, it's pretty. But, you know,
what happens? Wait. What happens if Scattered Hamlet ends up taking over the world of rock and roll music? You guys make boatloads and boatloads of millions of dollars. What is the first thing you're buying on par of a Mike Tyson?
Oh shit! Yeah, oh man, I could just see me. You know what I'd buy? I'd buy something that my wife will kill me. I always get this is my one, right?
Poor Melissa.
There's a whole website on TV where or on the internet where you can buy carnival rides that are huge, like a fucking Ferris wheel. Like you could buy a Ferris wheel, you could buy like all the stuff that you would see at a carnival, like when you were a kid. And I go on there and I'm always like, hey, if I retire from music, I want to put one of these in our yard. What would happen is she would go away and she would come back one day. We'd have a freaking tilt-a-whirl. All the lights, like my neighbor. Like, what's happening? No kids or anything. I just have my it's my freaking Ferris wheel, whatever. You know?
Now, the worst part is when this interview is done, I'm going to be looking up this website to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and they have them like I always want to know like used carnival rides, and like you could go on there. And they have a lot of the places they store them are like in Florida and the Midwest. But yeah, there's people that broker in these. I mean, they're not cheap, obviously.
Right. You know, the scary part is they just break down and get thrown on the back of a truck, and then they go to the next town, and like hundreds and thousands of people hop back on these things.
Yeah, and the dudes that together do not look like they're the most mechanically inclined individuals. Like,
no. Dude, we got so much to talk to. So the first thing I'm going to do is, you know, it's been a while. It's been a few years since we've seen each other in person. Yes, you know, beside these interviews. So I won't have a chance because you guys are playing the club that I brought you guys to back in my old area, but I won't have a chance to have a beer with you. But you know. Good morning and cheers. And look, this cat is driving me crazy. and the beer is called Simpler Times. So it's a Simpler Times.
Nice. I agree.
Scattered Hamlet.
I'm in. Yes, sir. But
okay.
Yeah, no, that's now we're going to be back in Ardmore with Rat Rod. You know, you introduced us to those guys and we're playing with them again, and that's really cool. You know,
all right, I have head. Don't mind me.
Oh, no worries. No, but you introduced us to Rat Rod when we played last time, and we're playing with them again. And,
great guys.
Yeah, awesome people. Like people that I want to play with again. Yeah, that's another one too. I'll go off on a tangent. That's a good one. Here's my Joad tangent for the day. Like we'll be playing somewhere, and you know, there's always like local like opening bands that you play with, and you know. And I've made some lifelong friends doing that. And it's really cool, like, meeting people from different areas. And then you want to play with them again.
Mm-hmm.
The most pushy people that insist that you take them on tour and like that you help them are never people like that. You know, like it's always like it'll be someone that like showed up. They brought like their two of them had girlfriends, so they brought them and their one buddy that came. They came to the show, they played. As soon as they were done, everybody left except for one dude in their band. There's one dude that was there, and he wasn't the one with the girlfriend, so the rest of them are gone. and he was there, and he hangs around a little bit, and like he introduced himself, and he'll be a nice enough fellow, and then I'll get home and then boom, I got a direct message. He's like, "Hey, bro, I need to ask you some questions." Okay, yeah, fire away. He's like, I want you to take us on tour with me. And I'm like, okay, well, were you in your hometown market? And he was like, yeah. I was like, you didn't bring anyone. No. I was like, hey, I know it's hard to bring people out. I was like, but, when you're going down a checklist of things, like there has to be a reason. Like I either had to be spellbound and really like your band and be like, you know what, we're all awesome together. I would love to go out with you guys. or you have to bring a lot of people to be like, all right, well, you're not my favorite band, but you guys sure know how to promote, and I can appreciate that. Or you're just so fucking cool that I want to like help you out, you know?
Right.
And like these are the 3 tick boxes that have to go off. And like I don't want to be a dick. I was like, you don't tick any of these 3 boxes. It's like, but you know, I wish you the best, and I'm happy to like answer any questions. But you know, before I go out, you know, and be like, yeah, we're gonna cut into how much money we make every night to make sure that you're out there, you know, doing this.
Wow.
Yeah, but no, that happens all the time, and you know, you can't blame folks for trying or whatever. But like, it's like it's a real disconnect from the business aspect of it. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're still out running a business, whether or not it's the record label or the shows or whatever it is. I mean, it's the dreaded part of it, but it is the music business, and there's a business element, you know.
Well, I think that's the problem is like the ones that are doing the asking aren't realizing that, yeah, you know, it is a business, and it's just like, oh, we're gonna put a band together and have fun, and we're gonna be big rock stars, and like you said, then there's like nobody showing up for them, and you know.
Yeah, or you know, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. It might not be because it might have nothing to do with them not being great at what they do. It might just be maybe they play too much in that market. You know, maybe they're not promoting well. You know, maybe there's just some things that they haven't figured out yet. And until you figure that out, you're not ready to go to the next step. Because if you start skipping steps,
it's not good.
No, it doesn't matter what it is. Like CM Punk skipping steps to go fight like in the UFC. You know, he did not come up like a fighter. He jumped ahead, and that's and it's going to catch up with you. You know, like it's not a and I'm a big CM Punk fan. I'm just saying, but when you jump to the front of the line, sometimes you know with things it can you know, and they're waiting in that line and doing all those things along the way. You know, are kind of part of what can make you successful or not successful. I think anyway. You know?
No, I agree. I totally agree. So before we dive into everything with Scattered Hamlet, I do this every time now, especially that we talk. We got to do a check-in on your old drummer Jake. Any updates? How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's actually apparently Rich just went and saw him the other day, and apparently he's even practiced using like a motorized wheelchair now. Like so he's like mentally his brain is working correctly. He's just now having to like learn new things, like how to move all of his you know, everything in sequence and filling in gaps, because I guess he still has some memory gaps. I mean, he was in a coma for 2 years, you know. So he remembers certain things and certain things he doesn't. So we try to, you know, show him pictures, fill him in on things, and and he doesn't speak super clearly, but he calls us dumbasses, and he's there, you know. He told we're gonna cut his hair in a mullet, you know, and he's just like, no, you know, he's yelling at us and getting mad, you know, or I'll mess with him and tell him I can drum better than him now, and he'll get really mad, you know, like but he told us straight up, like, I'll be back, you know, and I told him, I was like, we got your drum kit sitting right over there, man, you know, it's you know, he's definitely, ever since he showed signs of being conscious, they moved forward with physical therapy. So they wouldn't do that until they could prove that he was actually there. And then one day, you know, his mom called and was, you know, she's like, he's here. It's like, I'm like, what? You know? And she was right. He was. And she's been believe that from day one, and has been by his side and doing that. And she's an extraordinary woman, and she's never wavered, never doubted, you know, and that's pretty incredible. You know, you always want to out in your corner is awesome, you know.
That's awesome. Now I guess I'm going to add a semi joke onto this. So seeing everything that Jake's gone through, it makes you appreciate Steven Seagal in Hard to Kill even more.
Steven Seagal, this guy, I'm so fascinated with Steven Seagal. Like, I watch his old movies. I was always a fan of his old movies. Then, you know, I watch him like he's a police officer like in Louisiana, and then he's like a blues musician, And then he was training like fighters. And the other day he was like calling out like Randy Couture or something. I'm like no. Like that's it. You know that's I was like Steven Seagal has not been in good shape in a long time, you know, and even in good shape, I was like, don't call out Randy Couture, like it's
right.
Yeah, I rolled with Randy Couture one time, and it was like it was like when you're 4 and you're rolling around with your dad. Like that side of and I have a pretty solid background, and it was ridiculous. Like at one point, like he let me have his back, and he just reached like behind him like this, like your cat was on your shoulder. And he just was like, rah, and like flipped me over. And it was like, boom, has the mount on me in like a second. I'm like, I weigh 200 pounds. Like, so yeah, I was like, no, you don't want to do that, Steven Seagal. That would be a horrible. Good time.
Oh boy. So all right, so now with Scattered Hamlet too. And the last time we talked, which was over a year ago already, I think. At that point, old guitar player Adam had left the band, and you guys didn't have the fourth member, and it looks like there's an official fourth member now.
There is, yeah, there is. When we talked last time, there was, Adam had stepped out for a while, and and I think even when you saw us in Ardmore, that Adam wasn't there because he was out with Snyder at that time, and so he decided. I think he he wanted to step back from all the commitments of being in a band and stuff, and so we did the EP without him, essentially. And then this album, he did do some tracking on this album because we tracked a lot of this before the EP. It was a little
okay.
But as did Sean. Sean that is the new fellow. We found he's from Youngstown, Ohio, which is not far from me. And and he came in and we just really got along well. Like, we whittled it down to 3 people. And all 3 people were just really good. It's like we would have taken them all if we had the funds to be like a Hillbilly P-Funk or whatever. Yeah, it would have been amazing. We could have 3 great like smoking guitar players. It's like, well, it's like we can, and and one of the other fellas out, Zach, he came in. He was so good. He's playing with Struggle Jennings, so you can see him, out playing with Struggle. He was really good. But Sean, he was the guy that just, just vibed out with us well. Like knows what we're doing. We're from a similar area, and he popped in and became a full-time member like really fast. Like sometimes we kind of have more of a vetting process, if you will. But yeah, he's been super helpful. Like for, it's not just playing the guitar, it's what else you can like bring to the table. Like he can rebuild an amplifier, he can, he's brought like a lot of really helpful things, to the table, and obviously being a smoking guitar player, the first and foremost. But yeah, so he hopped in, we had him record tracks on with the new album. He didn't get to go to the studio proper with us for it because a lot of it was tracked, but we had him go back and retrack stuff, like we redo. It's like you put your leads in there, and stuff like that. And we, he and I, been doing that, and we started actually writing even the new stuff. He and I bouncing ideas off each other. So it's been a lot of fun. It's a new dynamic. He and I talk a lot more. Like there's a lot more communication between like guitar players. So it's like, hey, there's some space here. Why don't you do this and I'll do this? And like, we'll kind of like hash things out like that. Or like, hey, you're good at this, I'm good at that. Why don't you do what you're good at? And I'll, we were, doing that, like things like that when it's been really cool, so like we kind of like listen to what the other one's doing, like that's I think that's what makes a lot of bands really good, as opposed to just having good players, because there's a lot of great players, but if you're not listening to what everybody else is doing, it won't sound that great, even though you're really good at something. It's not, there's a lot of like really classic bands who maybe the sum of all their parts is greater than them individually, like maybe their guitar players aren't Steve Vai or somebody like that. But when you put them all together, the way they weave everything together and the band plays together, you have a phenomenal band. Like Tool. How about Tool?
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously their drummers, a virtuoso play, but the way they all play together, I think is very it is very inspiring. Like that's the first one that came to my head. But there's lots of bands like that. But yeah, so it's been cool. Sean's great, and we're gonna see him next week when we start the rehearsals for the next round of shows here.
It seems like too, like he fits right in with the whole Scattered Hamlet sense of humor.
Yeah, it was really funny because that's what you really have to explain to people. Like, you have to like sit down and be like, listen, like this is kind of what we do, and you have to have a sense of humor about it. You can't take yourself too seriously. And he got it right away. Like he showed up, he had the clothes were on point, like everything was just like, you looked at him was like, oh shit. And like play. And what's crazy that Rockfest show that you said that, when we were talking about that was his second show. So it was like nothing like taking a guy, that played he played one smaller show with us. We're like, did a couple rehearsals, like, all right, cool. 3 out, we're Steel Panthers headlining this stage, Rob Zombie on the other stage. You got this, and he even did great stuff. Like, then you have to explain to him that like there's certain things that I'll do, like Rich is like, like Joad might just not play guitar on that song, like, and then you'll just have to figure it out on the fly, like how to cover like all that space. And he was just like, all right, whatever. And it was funny because we were playing that the way we rehearsed Skeleton Dixie for that set was with 2 guitars. And I don't know, I just got caught in the moment. I was like, I'm playing guitar on this, so I'm just gonna, I got things to do. It was funny because one of my parts came in. I
got things to do.
I got things to do. I can't be holding this guitar. But, it was funny because like at one moment there was a part that I'm supposed to do, and like you just saw him like turn around and like look at me on stage, and like he got this big grin, and then he did it. I was like, yeah, see, that's all you got to do.
Wait, it's crazy. So as I was getting ready for this morning, last night, I start going through and reliving the YouTube memories of Scattered Hamlet. And I'm going through like the years and the old videos and all. And then like I came across one video I never even saw before. It was probably maybe even your guys' first video, Hillbilly Harmony.
Oh yeah, that was the first one. That was like,
yeah. I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah, I don't think we even played any live shows yet. Like that was so early on. We're still. I had done the song with the same producer, and did the demos, and I came back from Iowa, went to LA, back to LA, and the producer, after we came up with the idea in the studio, Ari, we came back and he's like, go find a band in LA. So I did, and that was the band that was in that video. Basically, it was
okay.
And the guitar player at the time, also did like production work, and he was in that video. So he had produced that EP, and and those were the guys in the video. And it was one of those things where I always looked beyond like to the next step, and a lot of people, like when they get in the music, I don't, maybe this is a flaw in me, but like they're caught in the moment, of like, this is what we're doing right now in the moment, which is probably more enjoyable than the way I do it. But, to me, I was already like, we hadn't even really started playing on the Sunset Strip yet or any of the LA places. And I'm already looking ahead to touring. How are we going to start touring? How are we going to get there? So I'm already looking down the road. That stuff to me was just going to happen, like, yeah, we're going to play on the Strip. That's going to be great. And I think those guys were just like, yeah, the next step is we're going to play on the Strip. And I'm 4 steps ahead of you guys, like right. I'm already thinking down the road. And then eventually each of those steps manifests. And then when it's time for the next one, they're like, well, we didn't really want to go, oh, it's real now. You have to like actually go out and like tour, we're not just, local people. Cause I knew that I knew that this band would never take off on the Sunset Strip. Like soon as I put together, I'm like, we're fucking hillbillies in the middle of Los Angeles. We're not going to, we're not going to captivate the scene that has spawned a lot of, hair metal. I don't want to call it hair metal because I love that stuff. But that has spawned a lot of rock. We're more outside that box. So there's two ways I figured we'd have to do it there. We'd either have to leave there or somehow get into the punk rock community in Orange and LA County. And we're not really enough of a punk band to do that. So I was just like, all right, cool. We're going to find our audiences elsewhere. And we did, and then when we came back to LA, we did better because then people would hear about you. And then it was like cool all of a sudden, even though you're doing the same shit you did before, but that's LA.
Well, how about that though? I mean, it's over 10 years now that you've been doing this with Scattered Hamlet, and you like that. You have members like that, and you've gone through member changes over the years, and accident with Jake, and even Adam leaving most recently. Has there been a point at any time, especially with the accident with Jake, where you were kind of like, yeah, you know what, like I think I'm done with this?
Every time. Every time, yeah. No, for real. Like some of them, it's just like, man, yeah. I mean, you just, I don't think that how many times you can get up from getting knocked down. Like there's no way to predict it. Like it's just, and then it just gets to the point where I don't know what else to do at this point. You know what I mean? It's like I've been doing this so long. It's like and you get past it. It's like there's self doubt. Like it's with any of those things. Like especially I never wanted the band to be like this. I wish that I would have found the core group and we stayed together like Clutch did for our entire career, and that's just it's harder in this day and age, and it's just it's impractical. Life happens, like everybody's got different journeys, and when everybody's especially in LA, everybody was there trying to make it. So you've got people jumping, that want to, if another opportunity comes, they're going to jump at that opportunity. It's hard to establish any kind of like loyalty or things like that. And it is what it is. I used to get really upset about it. Now I'm just kind of like, we'll figure it out. You just got to have a sense of humor and move on. And I think, do you ever see the, what is it? Is it the Legacy of the Beast? It was the Iron Maiden like box set back in the day. Like it was like
okay.
Box. But when you open it up, they had like this map of all the different members of Iron Maiden, and it was the most crazy like thing. And I was like, so I actually hung it up down here somewhere, but like that's like an inspiration to me. When you look over, you're like, oh, look at how many different lineups they had up until like the Number of the Beast, or even after they've been changed their lineup. They had Blaze Bailey face, and stuff. But so I look at that and I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. Everybody's got a different journey. There's not one right way, and if it's if things have to happen, we use fill-ins too, like if somebody can't be at something, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not in the band. We just get a friend to come fill in and keep the train rolling.
So and this is off topic of you guys, but so last night as I'm going down this rabbit hole of Scattered Hamlet, I ended up on this other rabbit hole for like 2 hours. I was sitting here till 2:00 in the morning watching this, and it was, it came up as a YouTube thing on the side recommendation for reaction videos, which I never watched these reaction videos, but it was a vocal coach watching Queensryche Take Hold of the Flame from 1984 live, and I'm like, I click on it, and I was just like mesmerized by this coach's reaction, and then I'm like, I wonder if there's any more. I was sitting there like, watching all these reaction videos, and then I'm like sitting there with tears in my eyes because I'm like realizing I'm like remembering the 14-year-old kid that got exposed to this song, and I'm like getting all emotional. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I love the reaction ones. There was one vocal coach that was reacting to Cemetery Gates, like the Pantera. That was like because I'm like, these people have no idea what to expect, and it's like I wonder, what a classically that's what a classically trained person would think of the first time they heard Anselmo be this or something like. It has to be like really interesting, because I have friends that are like classically trained musicians, and like we might as well be from different planets to like way approach like they're like, okay, on the bridge pickup on your guitar, and I'm like, I don't have that hooked up. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, the wire's cut on it. I was like, when you flip it up, it turns the rock off. That's you know, like the rock comes out of this one. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. What key is it? I don't know. It's in this one. You know, it's funny. Like my brother's a very like learned, skilled guitar player, and he was down here, and we were playing together, and we were trying to do the. He was following me doing the harmony part on Shelter. You know, he don't, you know, hadn't really listened to it, so we're playing it together, and like he's like, look at me, he's like, okay, so is this like kind of like a Dorian mode off of like this thing? I was like, it's like Thin Lizzy. I was like, yeah, it's like Thin Lizzy. He's like, yeah, and he's going on, and I was like, yeah, it's more like Thin Lizzy than Iron Maiden. Like, so I just named it after bands that I like listen to that do harmonies. You know, it was just speaking two different languages. It was pretty funny.
That's great. So we talked about you know, you guys did a run of shows over the summer. What was that like? You know, with you know, the new COVID era, and it was your guys' first time out. How different was it?
It was weird. You know, there's a lot of and. There's a lot of like division and stuff. It's an odd, like people really want to see music, but there's a lot of like, I don't know, this is probably true of the whole world there. And I don't care what people's opinion are. Like, if I like you, I like you. You know, I can understand people having this perspective, that perspective, but there was a lot of very, polarized perspectives, you know, like a lot of people think, you know, like some people were either very much against going out or very much for going out, you know, or like, it was really just a lot of extremes, you know, and you know, some places it seemed like people were more ready to go out and see things in other places. And we kept it in areas like that, you know, on purpose, you know, like, you know, kind of markets where we, you know, weren't as closed down. Like, you know, your coastal places were more closed down, like your bigger cities, you know, so we did more, you know, well, we still have big cities, but I mean, you know, but we kind of kept it more on that sort of vibe, and it worked out. You know, I'm kind of, you know, just get out there, do it. And, you know, some of the shows went really well, you know, some of them weren't as well attended, you know, but that's how it works. You know, it's I was just happy as hell to be out there doing something and not, you know, it's just been so long, you know, just sitting, you know, not doing, you know, what you've built, you know. And it's funny, like, you know, you mentioned like, you know, some people like will remind me, they'll be like, yeah, you guys have been doing this like 10 years. And it was like, yeah, sort of, you know, we've been around 10 years, but we haven't been doing it for 10 years. You know, like when you take the COVID, you take Jake's injury, you take when we first started, from the time we started touring, it's 10 years in existence. It's not like 10 years of balls to the walls, you know, going. It's, you know, like there was obviously some, you know, you get some momentum, you can fall back down, back up again.
Especially, I mean, the last 3-4 years between Jake's accident and COVID, I mean, yeah, you guys had a lot of momentum, and then the accident, and you're in limbo, and then you come back, and you got a lot of momentum again with the Stay Hungry cover, and then COVID happens, and it's like back down. Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, and, you know, it was, you know, you just, like I said, there's a sense of humor about it. Maybe at some point in time you look back and it'll make sense. Maybe it won't. I don't know, you know, but it's like just kind of just go with it. And I try not to get too I guess if you start thinking too much about the way it's supposed to work or something, like it's like, no, that's not how life works. It's like
what you got to like figure out is somehow, some way, and I don't know if this has happened already or not, but like I was thinking this the other day. Instantly, the new Kid Rock video comes out, and he's with the band Monster Truck and all, and I'm like, why the fuck is he not with Scattered Hamlet doing something?
You know, I would love to. You know, it's funny. When we played with him, we didn't get to meet him. You know, like we met the rest of his band, and you know, it sets up, and like, you know, right before they go on stage, Kid Rock appears out of nowhere. I don't know where he it was like they beamed him in like from Detroit. Like it was like on Star Trek. He popped on stage and fucking killed it. Boom, beam him back to Detroit. He's back there shooting guns with Ted Nugent somewhere or something. I don't know what they do, but it was pretty awesome. So I did not even get to, you know, and that happens sometimes. You know, like it runs the gamut. You know, like we've had with headliners. You know, like sometimes you hang out and you talk. Sometimes you know they're like ghosts. It probably just depends what kind of day they're having. Honestly, you know,
Right.
like you know, you could have. You know, when we did it with D. Snyder, you know, I got to sit down and just bullshit with him. But even that was random. That was just because we were walking by at the same time. He was coming out of his room and we were going back to our room. And I just like bumped into him. I was like, hey, D. Yeah, and it was like, yeah, and that's how that happened, you know. So yeah, sometimes it's like that, you know. When we played with Disturbed, I saw them. They were I saw them like taking pictures at the meet and greet, but like I didn't actually, you know, like interact with them much.
Yeah.
Then we were Steel Panther. We're sitting there with the drummer. We're like, he was the first person we walked out onto the stage to check the stage out. Like he comes back from the drum kit and just was. I didn't even recognize first because he didn't have his wig. So he's like talking to me, and I'm just like, I know this guy, but I don't know why. And then he was like, hey, watch this. And he acted like he had like a wig on. I was like, oh, it was really funny. It was super. Yeah, we were just talking about LA and stuff. So yeah, you know, it's just a totally, you know, random thing. But yeah, the Kid Rock one would have been a great. I love this whole idea, like collaborations. I just saw like, you know, Tom Morello was doing a bunch of cool collaborations, and I think we should do that more. Like is for more cross promotion, especially with rock and you know. Hip hop's done that really well. Country's done that really well, you know, and I think that would. I'm totally. I would love to collaborate. I've been calling it. I want to work with the guys in Rancid. I would love to, you know, sit down with Tim Armstrong and those guys and, you know, come up with something. And man, but no, I'm with you. But Monster Truck Kid Rock, that was fucking awesome. Yeah,
yeah, I love it. It's when we go off there, I got to tell you a Kid Rock story. It's kind of funny, but. So, all right, so let's get into this beautiful piece of work here. Stereo Overthrow, which thank you so much for sending this to me.
Oh, no problem, man. Oh, you got it.
Dude, I was like, yeah, man. Like, and I love that you guys do acknowledge Jake down bottom.
Yeah, we got the Jake 316. Yeah, we said we're going to put that on every release until he tells us not
to. So, which I was really happy to see too. And it's funny, we were talking about this before we went live. You're talking about the mail and everything out. I saw a nice huge pile of vinyls and everything you guys are mailing out last week.
40. I think it's 40 U.S. states and 5 different countries. It's been crazy. Like it's. Yeah, when I showed up to like the post office, like the first time, I live in like a little backwards ass town, and it was funny, like to show up there. I'm like, I'm gonna bring in a lot of stuff, like, and you know, it's like took like 6 trips to the car, all full of boxes, you know, and it's funny because like it's my big middle finger to every industry person that's ever said, and there's been more than one. They'll be like, you know, I don't know, your Spotify numbers aren't really high. It was like, well, fuck you, because I'm shipping shit all around the world, and I know that you have people that have all these super Spotify numbers that nobody even knows because they're algorithm bands, you know. And I'm raging against the algorithm, man.
Now you need to form a side project band and call it Algorithm. The Algorithm Band.
You know what? I could totally do it. There's a formula. Like it's so funny because I was like, I could sit down in the studio with our producer and I could tick all the boxes and put something out that would probably get on all these playlists and this kind of thing by just following like this preconceived like format. And I'm just not interested in doing it. It's why we didn't, you know, sign to you know, one of the labels that I really liked that was interested in us, you know, that's what they wanted us to do. You know, they just wanted me to sit down with a team of their writers and make those formulaic algorithm songs, basically, you know, and so like, you know, you can put your own spin on it. You know, it's like, thanks, you know, can I really? You know, that's very gracious of you, you know. And yeah, so you know, it's that's been a hoot, but yeah, it's been really cool. It's neat. I get excited every time I go look where the order's from. You know, it's crazy like places that you've never been. Like, we've never played outside of the United States. So when you're
Right.
from Australia or the UK, that's cool. Or even states that we haven't played in a long time, and vinyl, thank God, vinyl has really kind of saved the physical market for. I love vinyl, by the way, but it's like, a lot of people are physically buying vinyl again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool because people still buy CDs, but it's been diminishing, for a long time. And now,
Sure.
like, the vinyl surge basically, like, was, we didn't know how well we were going to do with it, and it actually ended up being really, really cool. And it with media mail, you can ship it pretty reasonably, around the place. You don't have to rip people off too bad for shipping. So yeah, it's been. I'm excited. It's been fun times. Bringing stuff to. Actually, when I'm done, excuse me, with this interview, I've got a box of stuff to carry to the post people.
Nice. How about vinyl's made this comeback. Now I see tape cassettes is on its way back now too.
I get that one. I don't understand, but it's like vinyl I get. Yeah, but the cassette thing, man, I'm just like, one of my friend's sons had a graduation. They invited me to his graduation party, and he's a musician, and he listens. He has a Sony Walkman, and he listens to tapes on, like, the Walkman. Like, and meanwhile, like, me and his dad are like we're like, man, we're so excited we don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Like, get all the tape out. Yeah, I was like, this, get the pencil and do it. I was like, man, when the struggle was real. But vinyl, we have a sitting area upstairs, and my wife and I do, and I have my grandparents from the 70s. They had one, like one of those record players. That's a piece of furniture, is basically,
Mm-hmm.
and it has an 8-track in it and everything. And I've pretty much gutted it. I put real monitors in it and put a modern turntable, and then rewired it, so it still looks like it's old school, but it's actually, sounds pretty good. And I have like a pretty awesome, vinyl collection that I'll just sit there, and listen to, when I'm hanging out, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I like going over, I like flipping the record over. I like looking at I like the big art, like that's
that's the big key, is the artwork. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife and I'll play like a game sometimes, like where we pull it out, and like we can, if it's like an album we're not familiar with, like or even if we're familiar, we'll pull out the album. We'll be like, and look at the inside insert and try to guess the date on it. Like, because
Right.
with what they're, you go by like what they're wearing, or or how the art looks, and things like that. And it's like we've got pretty good at it. We usually could get like within a year or so.
Find the missing items in the artwork and stuff. Yeah, many hours staring at some album covers, and you find something new every time.
Absolutely, it's so cool. It brings me back, to seeing my, like, brother and sister's record collections when I was, really little. My brother and sister are they're a good bit older than me. My mom had me much later in life, and so it's cool. Like when I was like a little kid, I go, and they all had different types of music that they were interested in. So like obviously my brother was a rock guy. He's one was listening to like Kiss, Deep Purple, and Skinner and things like that. But my sister was listening to like Billy Joel, like Queen, Barry Manilow, like the Grease soundtrack, things like that,
Right.
and it was cool. It was just like a different vibe. Like, you went to this room, you're going to get this. You went to this room, you got that. And then I kind of, it all kind of stuck with me, a little bit. Obviously I went more towards the rock side, but it fits my personality better, I think. I don't think I'll be much of a crooner.
So that leads to, you guys have put out a few videos so far for the album, and we mentioned this Scattered Hamlet humor.
It's on full display there, man.
It totally is, and I mean I think a lot of bands or a lot of musicians in the record business need to take a page out of your book, and like, you guys get it, like, have fun with it, be goofballs, and you guys take it to the max. I mean,
yeah, it was like it was just one of those things where we're like, and for no apparent reason, like what we're racing like cars made like that look like. I was like, I want an A-Team van, so I made an Escalade into an A-Team van. We have like we're doing, and then for some way in the middle of the video, we're like, hey, you remember when like Slash like kicked the door open and like came out and all this smoke and had a guitar lead? Like, there's a barn over there. We're gonna do that. We about burnt the damn barn down.
Now, who came up with the whole concept for that?
Well, they were kind of like, I don't even remember where they started, like, but we all kind of been spitballing ideas about like these things, and then I had been helping out. They're called Burning Ball Productions. They're an independent film company in West Virginia,
Okay.
and I had done cameos in some of their films. I've scored stuff with them, and my wife does art for them, and we've helped them out. And we're like, man, I wonder. I hit them. I was like, well, you guys want to do some music videos because they're really good at getting like that dark. They're really good at dark humor, campy, kind of stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, that kind of really fits our universe, like what we do. And they came out and, we had some of these ideas and, they made them work. Like, how are we going to make these cars run? How can we make this look good? How do you guys not get killed running over it? Because our ideas were like death. We're like, yeah, we'll just push that one over the hill. We wreck it'll be funny. And they're like, well, you guys have shows coming up. We're like, yeah, just. Yeah, I was like, yeah, we could just blow that up. I was like, I got some. So we could, like, I saw the do this. I get some dynamite and put it in the shoe with our bow.
Was it a tough decision though for you to have either the A-Team van or the General Lee?
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. Like we were sitting there, like because my wife was helping out with it. She helped a lot, with makeup and getting us all like organized and stuff. And she probably wanted to kill us because. We're like wrangling chickens, especially give us swords and put us in black metal makeup and try to wrangle us to do something. No, we're out there like fighting each other like dragons and like making up our black metal names. Like, so we're just giant children. But to answer your question, the reason was I couldn't fit in the General Lee. Like I was so excited, like with all of that, and like I got in it, I was like, I can't move. Like it's like there's no way that I can steer it or anything. The team Escalade was just bigger, like so. Yeah, so that was really what made the decision, and we didn't even know that the dummy was gonna win. Like we just didn't have anybody to drive the General Lee, so we're like we need someone to race the General Lee. So we're like. They're like, don't you have that sparring dummy over at the house that you practice like jujitsu with? I'm like, yeah, and that's how that got in the video. So like, it was a lot of like just making shit up. And the stereo Overthrow one, that was I had just watched Dolomite, and they call me Dolomite, and all those things. And I was like, I want to fly a shit like Dolomite, So like that was our. That was our hillbilly take on Dolomite, basically, is and the record labels turning down Rudy and stuff. So yeah, that's where those. We've got more. You haven't even heard a pro wrestling one yet. You're gonna like this one. I'm not gonna tell you exactly.
Yeah, don't say.
But we have the logistics down because the logistics were we needed a ring and some pro wrestlers. Well, we got that fixed now. So
oh boy, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, so that's gonna be the.
I love though in the Stereo Overthrow video the little homage to Air Bud in the background.
The Air Bud thing is did we ever tell you how that even came about?
I think you did. I think you did.
As best I can remember, we were broken down in Nashville at Warped Tour, and we were waiting. Our van was getting fixed down the road. So we're like in the artist section, and we had nothing to sit. We have our trailer and a cooler. And we're sitting on the cooler drinking beer, as one would do when you're waiting for hours and you've already played your set. And every band that had to walk past us, we just started screaming at and asking them if they were an Air Bud. Like, hey, aren't you an Air Bud? But we started it by asking them if they were famous. So like you've got musicians, hey, but are you famous? And like they're like, first, we don't even look like we belong at Warped Tour. So it's like there's these guys in skinny jeans from the Warped Tour, metalcore band, and they're getting harassed by this group of people. Like, And then when they would be like, oh, I don't know, am I famous? They're like, you're an Air Bud. And this joke didn't get old. And it was funny. Like, even some of the people who like worked for Warped Tour were like coming up, like, this girl with a clipboard. She's like, who are you people? I want to know right now. So anytime like they would ask, we would just tell them we're a different band name. You know? Like we're in Black Veil Brides, you know. Like, no, you're not. Like, they are, man. Like, so yeah, that's the Air Bud thing. And then pretty soon we're like, well, Grant was an Air Bud. So then we just started announcing him on stage. And yeah, he really, I've been announcing him as being conceived in the backseat of an IROC Z28 at a Winger concert in 1993. And none of those facts are correct. Like, like one time after a show, like, I wasn't born in 93. I was like, it doesn't matter. Like,
you weren't in Air Bud either, so it's different.
You were not in you earned nothing with an IROC Z, and your parents were not at a Winger concert. So.
Oh, hysterical. So now, or next weekend, you guys have this round of shows, which I find is kind of funny because I saw one of the places you're playing, or is that the one that got changed? We're playing Porky's.
Yeah, it got changed. It was one of the. This is so funny. This is what cracks me up about Pittsburgh. We always, every time our booking agent hits up Pittsburgh, they're like, we got to think about it, or they don't want to like pay the guarantees. Like, is your draw going to be okay? And like, we're like, dude, we'll do good here. Trust us, And then they go back and forth. And then by that time, West Virginia, Ohio, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all these promoters got back and the show's all booked and we never play in Pittsburgh. So we've never played in Pittsburgh before. So, So randomly, we get booked at this one place again. Not a lot of play, they were having trouble finding people to take the show. So we booked the one place and then now they moved it to a bigger venue because there seems to be a lot of interest in it. I'm like, I told you guys, it's like, it's gonna. So I hope that's a good sign, or that's why. Maybe there's another reason, but I don't know. But it seems like, just like that, it was like, yeah, see, we told you, like, people would like, want to come out and see this and stuff. And so we're excited so it got moved. I just found out about that yesterday.
I was like, damn, I bet you he's probably like, wow, I just like fulfilled a lifelong goal playing Porky's.
Yeah. It did not look like it was going to be that awesome, but we just rewatched that. My wife and I rewatched that during COVID, actually, Porky's. And that was the first thing I thought of, because like I'm looking at it now as an older person, like looking back on it, I was like, man, my band would go over real well here. That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, man, we need to play it.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Speaking of you and Melissa, the videos you guys were doing during COVID, I was like hysterical. Like,
oh, the hot sauce one, man. Oh,
yeah,
that was I was crapping fire for like 2 days after that. That was not fun. Like people were like, oh, you should do another hot. And I was like, no, I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah, I was with the Malort. That was just brutal. Like that was pretty funny. But yeah, we had a couple more we've been scheming up. We got away from a little bit, getting stuff ready for this album and tour, like, so it's been, and she had some stuff going on with her work and stuff. So yeah, we're hoping to get back to that and maybe come up with another stunt like that, or the things. What was the other one? We had the things that we bought. Yeah, that was good.
we got to do like a joint collaboration. You and Melissa and me and Coco.
Yeah,
because we do these goofy videos too. It would be fun.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that's fun. I like to do that. It kind of create. You know what I think it is for like for all of us, yourself included, like that are in entertainment and things, or have been in different capacities. Like I think it's kind of cool for people to see that you're a lot more normal than they think you are. Like that, your life isn't that much different. Like than like we go out with couples sometimes, and I think that people think that like I'm gonna be like Adam Joad on stage, like out like. And it's like, and we're like really boring and normal and like, it's like, talking about freaking Game of Thrones or something.
Oh man.
Yeah, so yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it kind of turns out it's like, no, I take out the trash every Wednesday,
Surprise, surprise, people. He does take the trash out.
trash out. I do shoot my bow out back and help the neighbors round their pig up and stuff when it gets loose. But that maybe that's not that normal, but that does happen.
Too funny. But going back to the album though, as I was listening to the full album last night, I right away I was thinking to myself as I'm looking through the titles, I see "See You in Hell." I'm like, oh, they did a cover of the Grim Reaper song. Yeah, I'm like, no way. So then I listen. I'm like, no, this isn't that. And then I'm like, is this like considered like a Scattered Hamlet ballad?
First it's a Pete Berwick one because he wrote that one. That's Pete. Pete, for those who aren't familiar, was Pete was he still is. He's a great songwriter. He does acting more now, but he spent a lot of time in Nashville, I believe, in the early '80s and stuff. And he's an outlaw singer songwriter. We played with him once. He lives in the Illinois area now. We played with him before, and we really hit it off. And he was just playing with acoustic guitar. And like I said, he's a tremendous songwriter. And he played that song. And I remember looking at Jake. I was like, Jake, I want to do that song. Jake's like, that'd be fucking awesome. I'm like, yeah, we need to do that song. So, having a relationship with him for a bit, I was like, Pete, I want to do, we want us to do See You in Hell. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. He's like, I'm like, all right, cool. That was easy. That was easy. And he was on me for a couple years about it because I couldn't make it work, because it's not really in our wheelhouse, like you said, is that about, this not what we do, so, it took me a while to do the song justice. I was down here making demos. I couldn't quite get it hashed out. And Pete's like, when are you going to do something with that song? And I was like, I haven't got it yet. I was like, when I get it right, I'll send it to you, and, yeah, and it finally came out, and I was really excited, with the, how it turned out, and it was really cool. We got Marty Rifkin to play pedal steel on it, and people that don't know Marty do know Marty because he played pedal steel on like Springsteen's "Ghost of Tom Joad," on the E Street Band, that whole entire tour. He did "Full Moon Fever" by Tom Petty. Like, this dude's a legend, like with pedal steel, and he laid that down in like 2 seconds. It's like, if we had to learn a whole new instrument, that could have taken us like months to even get somewhere. Like, it was like he just like, here, blah, 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 there's like 10 tracks, do what you want with them. And I'm like, oh wow, those are all amazing. And he's like, well, I can harmonize with the guitars and stuff. We're like, yeah, do that. That'd be awesome. Like, oh, that's why you're okay. So that was really cool. So we got him on there, and we got to do a great tribute for Pete. He was excited about it. And and it's a closer. That's probably my favorite thing I've ever recorded, personally as an artist. And it's really, it was cool. I'm glad it came out well. I think it's a good closer for the album, and it, it'll be a good song to do live whenever we'll probably start doing that one live next year. Not on these next bunch of shows, but I think it'll be a cool moment, in the show, like maybe something people aren't expecting.
That's cool. That's cool. Now with the shows too, like I kept thinking to myself now, like we mentioned earlier, you guys have been in existence for 10 years now, and you've really building up a catalog, and you got all these songs. That's getting harder for you now. Like, what songs are we putting in the set?
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, you've got the industry side that's like, you need to put out more material, you got to keep putting out more songs. Then it's like, but then we've got the live part that like people want to hear certain songs that are coming, that we're still a new band to a lot of people. So, you've got people that want to hear like something off this album, or they just heard this album. They haven't even heard this one yet, or they haven't heard that. So we try to take a few songs off all the releases, so if you caught on at different eras or from different albums, we try to put together, and it's fucking hard. You're right, man. It's to like make a set flow that sounds good, that doesn't like bum people out. Like, I never wanted to be like one of those bands that like, shows up and plays all the songs that you never wanted to hear. Because it's the artistic thing to do, and it's incredibly gratifying as an artist. And it's like, no, I don't. It's like, to me, that's the opposite of what we are as a band. Like what we are is not pretentious, and that's more of something that like, the arty people would do. I can see like Radiohead doing that. I can see that would be like something that they would do. Maybe the fans would probably appreciate it. And I'd just be like, I just want to hear Creep.
10 times over in the set.
Yes,
I don't want to hear the other stuff.
I feel disconnected from that song. It doesn't where we are. Yeah, that's not us. It's like, no, I wrote the song, liked it, and I'm glad you want to hear anything that we wrote, so I'll play it, unless we can't pull it off live. There's some songs we've had to pull, like, because they didn't come across live well. Like, for example, like, a lot of people wanted to hear Stay Hungry. Like, when we were playing at Warped Tour, that it was like crickets, like none of the audience there even knows who Twisted Sister is. So, like,
Wow.
you something like Stay Hungry, they're like, this song's weird. Like, it doesn't really sound like your other ones. Like, it was like crickets. And there'd be like one dad maybe that brought his kids that'd be in the background, like losing his mind, And I was like, well, we appreciate that you're very excited about it, but there's a lot of other people here that we have to connect with. So we ended up cutting that song, that's when we were like touring on it basically. And we ended up cutting it just for that audience, it just didn't go over well. And
Wow.
sometimes that happens, we kind of know certain ones and we make a lot of adjustments on the fly. I call them calling audibles, you look out there and you're like, okay, this song, it didn't have a great result. This song's kind of like that. So we should cut that one and stick something else in. So I've gotten pretty good at being able to, to read audiences and kind of feel, what they want, especially if they're not all there to see you, like at a festival or something,
Right.
They're not all there to see us. They're, this is our, 20 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes to make an impression on those people. So, I want to give you what would make you remember us, and I've seen bands that they won't deviate from the script. So a lot of the bands, a lot of backing tracks, they can't deviate from the script. Yeah, that's my favorite. I love messing with backing track bands. I was talking to these one guys, they're young. This is funny. And he's like, so what'd you think of the set? I was like, there was this really slick part where the third guitar player came in and played like an extra harmony, and he didn't even come out on stage. And the guy just like kind of like looked at me for a second. And I was like, yeah, I caught that.
Dude, I saw one. I'm not going to mention the name of the band, but I saw this one band in the club, and I love this band, and I've interviewed them a few times, and I went to see them, and I literally was watching the dude programming his iPhone for it when they played. I was just like, are you kidding me?
We've gotten extra time at festivals. Like one time we were at a festival and there was a band that was playing after us that they asked that, they're like, they came up to both of us and they're just like, hey, can you add like on like 10 minutes to your set? Yeah. And they asked the other band, you just saw like clouds go over and like they had like sitting down and like talking, and they're just like, I don't know if they could do. I was like, what they're saying is their set's all on backing tracks and they can't just easily add that without reprogramming it. 10 extra minutes, or we can play 15 extra minutes, and they were just like, yeah, I'm like, yeah. But hey, there's some bands that I really dig that use backing track. It's just not what we do. It's easy for us.
Right.
You want us to play longer? Cool, we'll play another song. It's easy because we plug into the Marshall and the rock comes out. Yeah. I wouldn't know how to fucking program backing tracks anyway. So that's above my pay grade. I don't know how to do it.
Well, that's why you guys are the Alpha Rock champions.
That's it, man. It's beta homeschool rockers that use like playing computers. That's homeschool. Computers don't rock. It's like, you ever see that like meme where the guy's like hitting the play button and there's like this giant like crowd? It's depressing. That's kind of what that is. It's like,
too funny. So, all right, Adam, I want to thank you for doing this. Congrats on the new album.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Glad to get in here and talk.
Dude, always. We always have a ball. Have fun on these shows. Do me a favor when you see my rat-rotted boys. You can feel free to smack them, throw them in a hold, stretch them, do what you got to do. They deserve it, Now,
I'm excited to see those guys. It's been too long, It's like I said, they're people that made an impression on you. People that I still talk to, and that that's why you do it. Those folks like that. Folks like yourself. It's like you reach out and that's really cool. It's there's a lot of it. And you sometimes you can get caught up in the bad shit, because you did meet a bunch of jabronis and stuff. And sometimes the jabronis can overshadow the cool people, and because you're not. So.
There is a lot of jabronis out there, so you got to weave your way through.
Yeah, you just got to get around them,
man. Where should everybody go and not be a jabroni to find Scattered Hamlet?
Well, it depends what you like. If you go to, if you like streaming, all our stuff's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, anywhere you stream music. I understand we're on Touch Tunes jukeboxes and bars now. You just place the bar, go there over and over again with your friend's credit card and just like and yeah, or if you like physical stuff, you want vinyl, you want things like that, you can either go to scatteredhamlet.com and hit store, or you can go to shop.scatteredhamlet.com and it'll also take you there as well. Or type in Google Scattered Hamlet General Store. Google, motherfucker. That's what I always tell people when people like ask a question like, Google, bitches, you just fucking go on there. Everything you need to know. Look at us. We're watching reaction videos and stuff. There's a rabbit hole. You can find it. It's on the internet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was finding it last night. Too funny.
I gotta show you this real quick. That's a Fall Guy thermos.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I was marking out big time for your Fall Guy shirt in the video. I was like, damn, where'd you get that?
Dude, I walked out. We pulled up and to a festival, and I got out of the vehicle and I was wearing that. And out of a tour bus, this dude just pops out with like dreadlocks. It was Elias from Nonpoint. He was like, Fall Guy. And we all both just like started talking about like Fall Guy. So yeah, that gets the most reactions. We're using that as our intro music for a long time too.
Really?
I thought it was the best intro music we've ever had. And like,
oh, that's great.
And Grant is like, I don't get it. I was like, shut up. That's because you were born in 93, man. He's like, I wasn't born in 93. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, man. Hey, I can't wait for you guys to get – when you guys coming down here? February, you're thinking?
I'm thinking, yeah, somewhere around there. We've actually been talking about it. So we're going to wait till Rich gets Rich is moving from LA to Louisville. And,
okay.
So he'll be back. So we're giving him some time to get, set back up before we start, hitting like some of those markets and stuff. So we should, we'll definitely be getting, back to there, and we have a plan for it, but it's going to keep us a lot more. We're going to be able to do a lot more regional dates, nice. Like 3 or 4 in a row, instead of just having to go out for a full month, because before we kind of had to fix Sate on a full tour schedule because none of us living close to each other. So, if you didn't catch us in that month, like that, it was hard. You'd have to wait, a couple months to see us. But this time now we can kind of do, some more select appearances and stuff. So it's going to change up, make people be able to see us a lot more, which I think will be good for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't like us, it's not going to be good for you.
Oh, on that note,
yep.
Dude, thanks again. And don't be a stranger.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right.